Welcome to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help ambitious W-2 employees who want to leave their job in the next 12 months, earn $1 million per year, drive their dream car, pursue their passions, and take control of their life. We'll actually teach you by interviewing people who have replaced their W-2 income through the proven business model of wholesaling real estate, a way to earn big checks by finding discounted real estate and passing it off to an investor who has money and can give you a $25,000 finder's fee for finding the deal. We're going to give you 2 weekly interviews plus 1 expert-led masterclass in front of a live Q&A audience of the DealMachine community, people who are trying to get this journey done themselves. My co-host is Ryan Haywood, whose sales job was cut when his commissions were cut in 2019, so he quit. And his wife was pregnant at the time, so he actually took a 14-day wholesaling challenge and made $8,500 and has gone on to do 400 deals since then in St. Joseph, Missouri. I'm David Lecco, and I created a process for finding off-market deals that has helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states, which turned into the software platform DealMachine. Hey guys, welcome back. If you're thinking about quitting a job you hate and you want to build a life you love, we teach you how to do that on this podcast with a proven business model called Wholesaling Real Estate. So our guest today actually lives in Arizona and does this business model in St. Louis virtually. So no matter where you're at, you can do this business model and you can do it virtually too.
The DealMachine REI Podcast. Everything you need to know to get started in real estate investing.
So Shane Belfield's actually done over 300 deals. But Shane, I just really want to know how much you actually made on that first deal.
First deal, excuse me, man. Sorry. I think I got it all. First deal, I remember like yesterday, $3,000.
$3,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you doing when you stumbled upon this deal? How are you able to find that?
It's kind of interesting. Like you said, I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona. So when I got started into wholesaling, I had a mentor suggest, that I stay in my backyard and start door knocking here in Phoenix. I was doing that for a few weeks, wasn't really getting much traction. So I had some connections in St. Louis and figured that I'd, pulled a list off PropStream for St. Louis, just started, cold calling it one by one, and just got a landlord who wanted to sell their property. Had no idea what to offer him. He just threw me a price. It sounded like a good deal, so I put it under contract and just busted my tail to get it moved.
Yeah. Now, how would you describe wholesaling in your own words to somebody who has no idea?
That's a good question. I guess the best way I can describe it is like flipping houses without the risk. Essentially, you're just flipping the contract. So,
what do you mean by that?
So instead of, I think when most people think of real estate investing, you think HGTV or, being a landlord. You buy a really messed up house, you spend all this money renovating it to, make it look nice. It has to be designed super well. You have to know a ton about housing and all this other stuff. But with wholesaling, even to this day, there's so much about houses that I still don't know. And so I feel, it's really just kind of a sales and numbers game. You just, have a lot more at bats. Like you don't necessarily need to know everything about construction. You don't need to have all this money. You just have to reach out to people and, learn how to, build up your sales skills. You gotta, learn how to negotiate. But there's a lot less risk. And you can do a lot more volume.
Gotcha. So you found this property and he actually gave you a price, and was it listed and then you wanted to get it under contract, or how did you find it?
No. So what I did was I pulled a list of landlords in a certain zip code that I know a lot of people in my market buy in. So I just pulled a list. I think it was tired landlords on PropStream. And then, I bought the list. It just, was an Excel file, had 3 numbers for each homeowner. I just went down that list. I called the first 2 phone numbers for each person, like just on my phone. Waited till somebody picked up, tried to see who was actually interested in selling, asked them for a price, price seemed to make sense, then got it under contract and tried to figure it out from there.
Gotcha.
Hey, can we back up just for a second? Because I feel like we missed, what were you doing before you found wholesaling?
Yeah, good question. Sorry if I skipped that. So I was working a full-time job as a sales manager for a lighting company here in Arizona, while also trying to buy rental properties and flip houses virtually on the side. And I knew what wholesaling was. I kind of convinced myself in my head that I would start doing it on the weekends. I think like a lot of other things that just never ended up happening. So my hand was kind of forced because I was fired from my job. So, and I was actually in the middle of a really horrible flip. It's a really long story, but I was losing money every day on it already. I had all our life savings in the flip that was actually in St. Louis. And so I just knew the opportunity to make, saw people making $10,000, $15,000 a month wholesaling. So I was like, at that time I was making $58,000 a year before I got fired. And so told my wife, let me give this a shot. I think this can really change our lives. And that's exactly what it did.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in your first deal, I know it was 3,000. What percentage of your salary at your 9-to-5 was that 3,000?
I guess I was over half.
Nice. One deal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that deal is what kind of allowed me to go like all in even more just in St. Louis, because I was kind of half and half between St. Louis and Phoenix. And when I did that following month, which I would kind of consider my first like full real month with wholesaling, I made over half of my annual salary in that month alone.
That's amazing. Were you ever scared that somebody would say yes and then you wouldn't know what to do next, having never actually done a house? I mean, I guess you did have one rehab project underway, so you had bought a house before.
Yeah, but it was terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. It was as soon as he said yes, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, it was scary the whole time.
Gotcha. So when you say it's less risk, you're actually meaning like you don't have to risk your capital to buy the house and actually fix it up, but you just get it under contract, and before you close on it, you pass it off to someone else. Did you put any earnest money on that contract that you might have lost if it was actually not a good deal?
Yeah, so I think I did put earnest money on it. But whenever I lock something up, you have an inspection period. So basically that's your period to find a buyer. So if you don't find one in that time, then, you're protected from losing that earnest money. So, I felt a lot better knowing that I had that. It just, obviously kind of sped up the timeline for finding a buyer, which I think is good.
Yes. And you're doing all of this from Arizona. So that was actually pretty remarkable for me. How are you handling appointments that you would normally go on in person when you're virtual like that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I get asked that all the time. I feel like virtual is allowing me to be a lot more efficient because we've always been like very volume focused. But really what it comes down to is building really strong relationships and having good trust with the people who are local who've gone to the property. So when I first started, I would have my buddy who was helping me getting into investing. I would have him go to the appointments for me to make sure that, nobody was trying to do anything shady, go around my back to the seller, things like that. That's what I did probably for the first few deals that I had. But then, once I started building like relationships with buyers, they understood the value in me being able to bring them deals consistently. Really at that point, I just started having them walk it. I knew that they weren't gonna, try to play any games because they knew that I was always gonna bring them, opportunities first. And then, it just made it easier for me because I'm now spending less time on appointments and I can spend more time reaching out to sellers and getting more deals done.
Gotcha. And how do you do that today? How do you reach out to those sellers?
So we mostly do texting campaigns through launch control, and then I have 2 virtual callers in the Philippines who bring in cold leads, turn them warm, and then my mother is actually my acquisitions person right now. So texting and cold calling. I know that we need to get into other avenues soon, but I like to be in control, so I like outbound marketing.
So when you say they pull in cold leads and they call them, like, where are they getting those leads?
We provide the lists. We still pull lists from PropStream. We'll pull them in certain zip codes, certain categories that we know like our buyers are looking, and then we provide those lists to the callers. They call through ready mode. I think it's a triple line dialer. I'm actually not sure. Probably should be. But yeah, they're just all day on the phones, reaching out to sellers, seeing who's interested in selling. Then they provide us, the details on, the property, timeline, all that fun stuff.
Gotcha. How long did it take to get that first deal? Like, if somebody wants to kind of pick up and do this, how long do you think it would take?
It's a good question. I mean, honestly, like once I really, because again, I don't want to count me starting in Phoenix versus me doing that deal in Arizona, but I don't know, I want to say 3-4 weeks. Could have been done sooner. I've done deals as quick as 2 weeks. Really, the only thing that holds things up is a title company.
Gotcha. Did you what did you do with that $3,000, whenever you first made that first deal?
Yeah, I know I spent most of it just, buying more data, putting into just like reinvesting in the business to get more deals.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I got started, I didn't have really much money. Like I said, all my money was in that flip. So what I actually did when I didn't want to spend money like buying data, I asked my mom to borrow $500, and I told her that any deals that I get from it, I would split with her. So that's how I got that first list. I borrowed $500 from her, bought I don't know, what is that, 7,000 records or so. And then, like I said, just called them. It didn't cost any money to just pick up my phone and dial.
Right. And you had all the time in the world because you had been let go of your job.
Got fired, yep.
That was Ryan. He didn't get let go, but he quit. So he had a lot of time to get that first deal knocked out in 14 days. That's what I'm saying is, like, somebody listening, like, if you really dedicate this, you can get this going quickly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, like, I wish that I wouldn't have split my time between Phoenix and St. Louis because, I mean, just all of the big players are here in Phoenix. It's just, and the price points just make it really competitive and difficult to get deals. But
that's one thing I always noticed is in the more expensive markets, you have to spend more on marketing. So it's harder to get started. You can recoup your value because you get 15% of the house typically on a wholesale deal of that house's value. But it does take longer. It does take more money to get started. So that's cool. You went in St. Louis. You could use that $500 from your mom to get that started.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please open up your podcast app right now and leave us a review and let us know what you thought of this episode. It means so much because the reviews help us get in front of more people. And the more people we can get in front of, the more we can help them achieve financial freedom. And we also get more energy to put more content out like this to help you. So by leaving us a review, it will give you more content to come to help you along on your journey. Thank you so much. What is it like working with your mom? You guys have like a special relationship.
Yeah. I've always been really close with my mom, and honestly, she's she's a rock star salesperson. She's a better salesperson than I am. So it's interesting. We've had my first year, we did not too many deals together that first year because she wasn't, doing it with me full time. But she actually, like I said, she's, full time with me now. It's cool. It's nice to just like, be able to see how real estate has changed like both of our lives. Like, and, there's definitely the roller coasters of the business, but it's nice to know that not only, because I've always, wanted to take care of my mom. So it's like, right, a really easy way to like do it now. We get to do it together. I know that once she gets more involved in the business, she'll buy like, rental properties for herself. She'll start doing more things in real estate outside of just wholesaling. So it's cool, man. Real estate is a fun game.
Yeah. Now, I know you said you made like half your salary like very quickly, right? Like how you were mentioning something about that, right?
Yeah. So my first full month, January of 2021, it was interesting because when I got fired, I had a pregnant wife. She was due in 5 months, so there's a lot of pressure on there too. And so coming up on January 2021, I had $30,000 of deals that were set to close, but I always knew that, don't count your like check until it actually hits your account. You never know what can happen with the deal. So, I was excited about it, but I wasn't for sure that everything was going to be okay and go through. But I just decided to, kind of keep my faith and, see what happens. So I made, that was January, made $30,000 that month.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's crazy because I have been working for years trying to like crack 6 figures. And in 2021, that first year, I did that in like 2.5 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So what have you done with your lifestyle, right? Like, what did it feel like, whenever your wife was pregnant and maybe you had like some, income that wasn't quite so much? Like, what's the difference between then and now?
It's hard to look back because, the way I think about like just business, finances, just everything is so much different now. Honestly, we just look at finances differently. Like we, look at expenses as either like some sort of investment, right? Like we either are like reinvesting in ourselves or like an expense saves us time and gives us more like quality time together, things like that. I've been thinking a lot recently about, how things were back those 3 years ago.
So you really haven't changed up too much of your lifestyle, actually.
Well, we have decided drastically, as, I guess you might think. I got a much nicer car now. Like we'll get floor seats to Suns games when we go. We'll do fun stuff. Like, we just don't have, it's not like we went and bought $3 million house or anything like that, but we'll definitely splurge on, different like lifestyle events, things like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, well, in my 20s, I still call that growing up. It would stress me out whenever the peanut butter at the grocery store would be more expensive than another. Or growing up, we just spent a lot of time. My mom would be like selecting the best version of the cheapest, best value food, And now I just go to the grocery store, get what I want, check out without actually thinking at all about it because it doesn't matter. Kind of like similar thing that you're describing. It's like, hey, we just got 4 tickets to the Suns games because we just wanted to. We didn't think twice about it.
Yeah. No, that's completely different. I remember when, I would used to go just get like a Gatorade from the store and I wouldn't know if I had enough money like on my card and just have that anxiety like at the register, like, oh, is this going to go through? Am I going to be embarrassed? It's definitely nice to not have to, don't get me wrong. Like I still have kind of like a frugal mindset, but, it's a lot more freeing knowing that you don't have to think about every, transaction that you're making.
Gotcha. Where are you going to go?
That's a version of PTSD, I think.
Yeah, man.
When you grow up under the confines of a tight budget, it really does. It messes with you. Even in making decisions for your business, like I've been hesitant to make decisions for marketing and stuff because I'm like, oh man, like that seems like a lot of money. It seems like an irresponsible purchase. You have the money, you can do it. It wouldn't be a big deal and it'd benefit your business to do it, but it just that the way that you grow up being frugal or being on a tight budget, or even when you're a kid and you're learning how to budget your very first checkbook, and we've all been there. At least I think all of us have been there, where we didn't have the two pennies to rub together to get the Gatorade. Like to get a candy bar, it's like, wish I had cash right now.
Shane, where are you going to go from here, man? You've done about 300 deals, right? You made $30,000 in a January. Is that enough? Are you enjoying your life, or you're hungry for more?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I mean, I'm always hungry. It's definitely a battle between, being grateful for where you're at. Cause I mean, I've been working to get where I'm at now for, ever since I graduated college. So it's crazy to think of like, and what's crazy is just like how quickly it happened, Again, like I think that if I look back at it, I like 16x my income my first year wholesaling, which I mean, don't get me wrong, like that year was also yeah, it was just crazy. But no, I mean, we're still growing. I hired, full-time staff recently. I'm spending more effort into like mentorships and coaching, things like that, so we can kind of just be consistent. I'm definitely still more of the hustler than the business owner just yet. I'm still, in the everyday, just doing the grind. And I know that, in order for me to have more free time with my family, I need to kind of elevate to that business owner. But it's nice to be able to, be around people that allow me to like do that, kind of have that direction. I get to talk to a lot of big players, relatively consistently. I mean, shoot, I feel like a big deal being on this podcast with you, man.
I'm glad that you feel that way. I'm really happy. I've been working hard at it.
Yeah, man. I do literally. DealMachine was the first thing that I used. Like when I was starting out here, like I got the DealMachine app. I was driving for dollars. Every single house I pass, I would put in there. Every time I drive around, man, I need to like renew my subscription, but every time I drive around, I just want to like pull it out and just add a new deal in there. Like, oh, let me reach out to them. Wife gets on my case about it a little bit, so I try not to, do too much. But
hey, sounds like your wife's a smart woman. Let's move into the actual guilt-free profit section of our podcast, Shane, to wrap up this episode. This section came from, as business owners, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but I wanted to win so bad. And then when I started making money, I felt guilty in a lot of ways. I felt guilty about buying that nice car. I was like, what will my employees think? I felt guilty about a few other things too. Like whenever I was working my 9-to-5 job still, if a call came in, I was like, oh, shoot, I don't know if I should actually take this call while my employer is currently paying me for my job. And so wanted to ask a few questions like that, right? So I'm curious, do you think that if somebody is motivated, there is any reason why this business model wouldn't work for them?
Oh, absolutely not. There's just so many ways to do this business. Like if you're motivated and put in the work, no, I think that I just really can't think of any reason why you couldn't be just extremely successful in this business.
Got it. Ryan, you got any questions?
Yeah, I want to channel the go back to the PTSD a little bit. If you have an 8-to-5 job, would you answer a side hustle call during your 8-to-5 shift?
Me personally?
Yeah.
All day. Yeah. Because
what rules do you have? What do you abide by answering the side hustle job while you're at your 8?
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely depends on the job. I'm thinking back to the job that I got fired from. And I had a little bit more flexibility, but I think for me, I always busted my butt in every job that I'm working. So, I think the rules I abide by is I'm busting my tail for your company. I can take a break to work on myself. If I was a slacker at work, then yeah, I think that'd be a little bit different. If I'm not putting in the effort, if I'm not being a good employee, not, trying to be coachable, working hard, that's a little bit different. But if I'm giving you my all throughout the day and I just, I have one call to, better my own self, then yeah, I'm going to take it. And if it's really a problem, then, you're probably not that invested in me, in my success.
Now, what if your mom was answering calls for her side hustle on your time?
Yeah.
What if she wasn't your mom? What if it was just an employee unrelated?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think that's a big deal. I'm also like, I want everybody, part of the reason why like I am more vocal about like real estate is I want everybody to win. I think everybody can win like in a really big way. So, as long as it's there's boundaries, obviously. But at the same time, like I also know that, my mom or whoever is working for me is going to take that call after 5 if it's going to help the business too. So, I think just
Love it.
with that being the culture.
I think honesty both ways is always super helpful. Ryan, we got time for one more. Let's hit him with an easy one.
Okay, is entrepreneurship for everyone?
No, I don't think so.
Explain.
I think, and I don't think it needs to be I think it can be, but I mean, you have to have super thick skin. You got to be, just kind of willing to, put in the work. And I mean, just, in doing this business, I've tried to put a lot of people like onto the business and, and like, I'll show them like, hey, this is how much I made, me from before. I wasn't making anything, before I got into this. Like, I have other people who were, who were in sales like me, like have the same skill set, same background. And, I think that taking the risk, being able to roll the punches just kind of takes a certain, person that like, it's just not everybody can, handle that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that being said, there's also like the flip side of that where, you can also be a successful entrepreneur and honestly just be smart and not have to, deal with all the roller coaster. Like I said, I think me and my like hustling mindset is why I have as much of a roller coaster effect as opposed to, if I had like systems and processes in place and things like that. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that especially nowadays, man, I was talking to someone yesterday who has a Amazon FBA store. Like there's so many different ways to, be an entrepreneur and make money. It's just risk. It takes, a little bit thick skin. But I mean, I guess as long as someone can change their mindset, like, yeah, I think that anybody can do it. It's just, it's a big mindset shift.
It definitely seemed like risk when I was thinking about quitting my job, but that's why I did it as a side hustle. So it was less risk. And I thought the even bigger risk was going to be working a job that wasn't totally fulfilling to me, that didn't give me the freedom that I wanted to for a decade without even trying. So super glad I took the jump. It wasn't as big of a risk as I thought it was. I thought you had great answers, Shane. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to spend with us to help people listening who are thinking about how they can make a change in their lives. And if you guys have liked this episode, make sure you're subscribed. And then also one thing that would make me and Ryan really happy and also get you updates on the next episodes, because it's so important to hear from people who have actually walked the walk that you want to go on, is to subscribe to this podcast. And with that, that's the episode. Thank you so much, Shane. Where can people follow you?
Thanks for having me, guys. Instagram at Shane Belfield. Pretty sure I don't have any underscores or anything.
Amazing. And if you're in the St. Louis area and you've got a deal, I think it would be okay to send that to Shane if you're looking for a buyer.
All day, please do.
Love it. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks
we'll
so
see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.